How are you guys doing? Today is Wednesday, April 20th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances from Tuesday, April 19th, as well as previewing everything that's going on today as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. As we are almost through April, taking a look at where we are in the calendar year. In terms of where we are with basketball, we are in the midst of the first round of the playoffs. There are 16 teams out of the 30 original that are still competing for the 2022 NBA title. Taking a look at what's going on with baseball, we are still in the opening stages of the MLB season as some teams are playing their 10th, 11th, and 12th baseball games. Taking a look at staying within the continental U.S., the NFL draft is coming up in the next couple weeks. Also, in addition to that, or I guess it's in a couple of weekends, and then in addition to the NFL draft, the NHL playoffs are going to start at the end of this month or at the beginning of next month because the NHL season is almost over. And of course, looking at what's going on outside of the continent, a lot of European soccer seasons are coming to an end as there's about just over a month left in those seasons and their tournaments as well. Taking a look at what happened with NBA playoffs yesterday, there were 3 games. The first game would be in Miami as the 1 seed from the Eastern Conference. Miami Heat would host the 8 seed Atlanta Hawks. After the Heat would go on to win game 1 by 24, they came in with a 1-0 series lead. They would beat the Hawks 115-105 to increase their series lead to 2-0. They would win this game by 10 after they outscored the Hawks by 9 points in the third quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the 8-seed Atlanta Hawks were led in scoring by their shooting guard off the bench, Bogdan Bogdanovic. He would go on to finish with 29 points in 28 minutes as he shot 12 for 18 from the field. And of course, alongside that, Bogdanovic would shoot 5 for 10 from 3. The Hawks' elite starting point guard out of Oklahoma, Trae Young, finished with 25 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, and 10 turnovers in 41 minutes. He shot 10 for 20 from the field, 2 for 10 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the free throw line. The Hawks starting small forward, DeAndre Hunter out of Virginia, finished with 16 points in 35 minutes. Their starting power forward, John Collins, finished with 13 points and 10 rebounds in 29 minutes. He shot 6 for 11 from the field and 1 for 3 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the top-seeded Miami Heat were led in scoring by their elite starting small forward out of Marquette, Jimmy Butler. In Game 2 of this series, Jimmy Butler would finish with 45 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals in 39 minutes. He shot 15 for 25 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and 11 for 12 from the free throw line. Off the bench, the Heat shooting guard Tyler Hero out of Kentucky finished with 15 points in 31 minutes. Their starting shooting guard, Max Strus, finished with 14 points and 2 steals in 22 minutes. He shot 5 for 10 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and he made his only free throw. Off the bench, their guard, Gabe Vincent, would finish with 11 points and 2 steals in 26 minutes. He shot 3 for 6 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and he made 2 of his 3 free throws. With this win, the top-seeded Miami Heat now hold a 2-0 series lead over the Hawks. They are now 2 wins away from making it into the next round, as the Hawks would have to win 4 of the next 5 games to get a chance to make it through. But of course, the next 2 games are going to be in Atlanta. Game 3 of this matchup will be on Friday, and that game's going to be on ESPN. Taking a look at what happened with the second game yesterday in the Western Conference, the 2-seeded Memphis Grizzlies would host the 7-seed Minnesota Timberwolves after the 7-seed Timberwolves would win game 1 by 13. In this matchup, the 2-seed Grizzlies would even the series up at 1 after beating the Timberwolves 124-96. The Grizzlies won this game by 28 in front of their home crowd fans. They won in front of their hometown fans as they outscored the Wolves by 10 in the second quarter. They would outscore the Wolves by 8 in the third and 9 in the fourth, outscoring them by 17 in the second half. They would go on to outscore them by 27 after the first quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the 7-seed Timberwolves were led in scoring by their elite starting small forward out of Georgia, former number 1 overall pick, Anthony Edwards. He finished with 20 points and 6 rebounds alongside 5 turnovers in 34 minutes. He shot 7 for 16 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and he made both of his free throws. The Timberwolves elite starting center and this year's NBA three-point contest winner, Karl Anthony Towns, finished with 15 points, 11 rebounds, 2 blocks, and 5 turnovers in 28 minutes. He shot 4 for 7 from the field and 7 for 8 from the free throw line. Their power forward off the bench, Taurean Prince, finished with 12 points and 2 steals in 17 minutes. Prince shot 4 for 7 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and he made both of his free throws. Their center off the bench, Nazrion Reed, would finish with 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 20 minutes. He shot 2 for 4 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and he made all 6 of his free throws. The Wolves starting point guard out of Ohio State, D'Angelo Russell, finished with 11 points in 28 minutes. On the winning end of this matchup, the 2-seed Memphis Grizzlies were led in scoring by their starting point guard, Ja Morant. He would go on to finish with 23 points, 9 rebounds, and 10 assists in front of the hometown fans in 30 minutes. The first-time All-Star would shoot 9 for 16 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. The Grizzlies starting point guard, Jaren Jackson Jr., finished with 16 points and 7 rebounds in 27 minutes. Their starting shooting guard, Desmond Bane, finished with 16 points in 31 minutes. Their starting power forward, their power forward off the bench, Brandon Clark, finished with 13 points and 2 steals in 21 minutes. Their starting center, Xavier Tillman, finished with 13 points and 7 rebounds in 21 minutes. Their shooting guard off the bench, Zaire Williams, finished with 13 points in 19 minutes. And their point guard off the bench out of Duke, Tyus Jones, finished with 10 points in 16 minutes. With this win, the 2-seed Memphis Grizzlies have evened the series up at 1, as they have at least forced a Game 5. Both of these teams need to win 3 games in order to make it to round 2. The next game, Game 3, will be played tomorrow on TNT in Minneapolis, as Minnesota has the chance to take the lead in this series at home. And taking a look at the last game that happened yesterday, the top-seeded Phoenix Suns, who had the best record in the NBA, would host the 8-seed Pelicans after the Suns beat the Pelicans in Game 1 by 11. Game 2, we see the Pelicans beat the Suns by 11 to even up the series right before they go back to New Orleans. The Pelicans would win this game 125 to 114. They won this game by 11 after outscoring the Suns by 12 in the third quarter. They would outscore the Suns by 16 in the second half, as they came into the second half with a 5-point deficit. On the losing end of this matchup, the top seed Phoenix Suns at home were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Devin Booker, out of Kentucky. He finished with 31 points and 2 rebounds in 25 minutes. He shot 12 for 19 from the field and 7 for 11 from 3. Their starting small forward, Mikal Bridges, finished with 19 points and 6 rebounds in 40 minutes. He shot 7 for 11 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. Their elite starting point guard, Chris Paul, finished with 17 points and 14 assists in 36 minutes. He shot 5 for 16 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, and he made all 5 of his free throws. The Suns' small forward off the bench, Cam Johnson, finished with 11 points and 2 steals in 26 minutes. Their starting center and former number 1 overall pick out of Arizona, DeAndre Ayton, finished with 10 points and 9 rebounds in 33 minutes. Their center off the bench, JaVale McGee, finished with 10 points in 15 minutes. On the winning end of this matchup, the New Orleans Pelicans were led in scoring by their elite starting small forward out of Duke, Brandon Ingram. Ingram finished with 37 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists in 39 minutes. He shot 13 for 21 from the field. He made all 3 of his three-pointers and made all 8 of his free throws as well. Their starting shooting guard, CJ McCollum, former Trailblazer, would finish with 23 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists in 40 minutes. He shot 7 for 18 from the field, 6 for 10 from 3, and he went 3 for 4 from the foul line. The Trailblazers starting small forward out of Alabama, Herbert Jones, finished with 14 points in 41 minutes. He shot 5 for 8 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and he shot 2 for 4 from the foul line. Their power forward off the bench, Larry Nance Jr., will go on to finish with 13 points and 6 rebounds in 21 minutes. Then their starting center, Jonas Valanciunas, would finish with 10 points and 13 rebounds in 26 minutes. He shot 4 for 9 from the field and made both of his free throws. With this win, the 8-seed Pelicans have evened the series up at 1, and they have forced a Game 5 in this series. Both of these teams will still have to win 3 games ahead of them from this point on. Game 3 between these two teams will be played on Friday. That game's going to be on ESPN. Games 3 and 4 are going to be in New Orleans. So those are going to be the three matchups that were played yesterday, as there are still two more game twos to be played. Taking a look at what's going on today. Today is Wednesday. There's also going to be a game three played today. But first, at 7 o'clock on TNT and TD Garden, it will be game two of the Eastern Conference's 2-7 matchup, as the 2-seed Celtics lead the 7-seed Brooklyn Nets 1-0 in this series. This last game was won by the Celtics off of a last-second Jason Tatum layup. And then taking a look at this second matchup that's going to be taking place today within the playoffs. It looks as though it will be game three in the Eastern Conference, as the 5-seed Toronto Raptors are going to host the 4-seed Philadelphia 76ers. The 76ers currently lead this series 2-0 after winning both of the first two games in Philly. They won the first game by 20, and they won that second game by 15, as Toronto looks to try to make a very big statement to try to come back on the opposite end. And then, of course, last but not least, the last game two that needs to be played at 9:30 on TNT. The 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference, the defending champs Milwaukee Bucks, are going to host the 6th seed Chicago Bulls after the Bucks were able to win game one. They won game one by 7, as after this game, games 3 and 4 will be played in Chicago. But of course, that is what the NBA is looking like following these big matchups. Taking a look at what's going on in the MLB, there were a couple of double headers. Starting off in our nation's capital in Washington, D.C., the Nationals would go on to beat the Arizona Diamondbacks in both games. They won the first game 6-1 after the Diamondbacks scored the first run of the game. They would take the lead in the 5th off of a double from Cesar Hernandez. On the losing end of this first matchup, the Diamondbacks were led out by their starting pitcher, Madison Bumgarner. Madison Bumgarner would go on to allow 2 runs off of 2 hits in the 5 innings he pitched. He would strike out 5 batters and walk 4. With this loss, he is now 0-1 in the 2022 season, and in the Diamondbacks batting lineup, their left fielder David Peralta went 2 for 3. Also, their first baseman Seth Beer went 2 for 4. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Washington Nationals were led out by their starting pitcher Josiah Gray. Josiah Gray would allow 1 earned run off of 3 hits in the 5.1 innings he pitched. He struck out 8 batters and walked 2 before he was pulled in the 6th inning. With this win, Josiah Gray is 2-1. In the Nationals batting lineup in game one, the only player that had more than 1 hit was their first baseman, Josh Bell. He went 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. In game two, the Nats would beat the Diamondbacks 1-0, as the lone run that was scored off of an RBI double from Cesar Hernandez in the bottom of the 6th. As Cesar Hernandez had the game-winning play in both of these matchups. On the losing end of game two, the Diamondbacks were led out by their starting pitcher, Tyler Gilbert. Gilbert allowed 1 earned run off of 3 hits and 5.2 innings pitched. He struck out 3 batters and only walked 1 before he was pulled in the 6th inning. In the Diamondbacks batting lineup, the only player with more than 1 hit in game two was their right fielder, Pavin Smith. Pavin Smith would go 3 for 4. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Nationals were led out by their starting pitcher, Joan Adon. Adon would allow no earned runs off of 3 hits in 6.1 innings pitched. He would strike out 5 batters and walk 2, and with this win, he's now 1-2 on the season. The save would go to the Nationals closer, Tanner Rainey. Rainey would allow no earned runs off of 2 hits in the 9th inning, as he struck out a batter and even walked 1. This is his 3rd save of the year. In the Nats batting lineup, nobody on the team finished with more than 1 hit, as their second baseman, Cesar Hernandez, went 1 for 4 with an RBI in this matchup. With these wins, the Washington Nationals are now 6-7. That is currently the second best record in the National League East, as they are tied with the Atlanta Braves. They are on a 2-game winning streak. They've won 6 of their last 10 after starting out with an 0-3 record. They sit 3.5 games behind the division-leading New York Mets. Taking a look at where the Diamondbacks are with these 2 losses, they are now 3-8. They are on a 3-game losing streak, as they've lost 8 of their last 10 after winning the first game of the season. They would go on to, as of right now, they are sitting 5 full games behind the division-leading Colorado Rockies and Los Angeles Dodgers. Only the Cincinnati Reds have a worse record in the National League than the Diamondbacks do. Taking a look at the other doubleheader, this one took place in Queens, as the Mets would host the San Francisco Giants who had a pretty sizable lead over they had a pretty sizable advantage over a good amount of the National League teams. The Mets would win both of these games. They would win the first game 5-4 after the Giants scored all 4 of their runs in the first 2 innings. It would end up, or they scored both of their runs in the second and third inning, after the Mets scored the first run of the inning. After the Mets would tie it in the 5th off of a Francisco Lindor double, it would be an RBI single, a walk-off single from Francisco Lindor in the 10th inning that would give the Mets the win in Game 1. On the losing end of the matchup for the Giants in this first game, they were led out by their starting pitcher, Alex Cobb. Cobb would allow 4 runs off of 6 hits in the 4.1 innings he pitched as he struck out 4. The loss would go to the Giants' closer in this matchup, Jarlin Garcia. He allowed 1 run off of 1 hit in 0.1 innings pitched as he walked a batter. And of course, with this loss, he's 1-1. In the Giants batting lineup, their shortstop, Brandon Crawford, went 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. And then their second baseman, Thairo Estrada, will go 2 for 5 with 1 run. Also in this first game, their third baseman, Jason Vosler, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI. On the winning end of Game 1, the New York Mets were led out by their starting pitcher, Tyler McGill. In front of the hometown fans, Tyler McGill would allow 4 earned runs off of 7 hits in the 6 innings he pitched. He struck out 4 batters and walked 2. The win would go to the Mets closer, Adam Ottavino. Ottavino would allow no earned runs and no hits in the 10th inning as he would walk a batter in that inning. With this win, he's 1-0. In the Mets batting lineup, their elite shortstop, Francisco Lindor, went 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. He would be the only player on the team with more than 1 hit in Game 1. And then in Game 2, the Mets would go on to beat the Giants 3-1 as all 3 of their runs came in the 3rd inning off of a 2-run double from Eduardo Escobar and an RBI single from Dominic Smith. On the losing end of Game 2, the Giants were led out by their starting pitcher, Logan Webb. Logan Webb would allow 3 earned runs off of 6 hits in the 3.2 innings he pitched as he struck out a batter and walked 3. With this loss, Webb is 1-1. In the Giants batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit, as that would be attributed to great pitching from the Mets. The Mets at home were led out by their goated starting pitcher, Max Scherzer. Scherzer allowed 1 earned run off of only 1 hit in the 7th inning as he would strike out 10 batters and he walked 3. With this win, Max Scherzer is now 3-0 on the 2022 season. The save would go to the Mets closer, Trevor May. May would allow no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out a batter in Game 2. This is his first save of the year. In the Mets batting lineup, their elite shortstop, Francisco Lindor, went 2 for 4 with a run. Their third baseman, Eduardo Escobar, went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run. Their first baseman, Dominic Smith, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI. With these wins, the New York Mets are now 9-3. That is the best record in the National League East, as they've won their last 3 games and they've won 7 of their last 10 after starting off their season 2-0. They are currently sitting 3.5 games behind the Atlanta Braves and the Washington Nationals, who are tied for the second best record in the division. And as of right now, they are holding the best record in the National League, and they are holding the best record in baseball. They are the only team in baseball with more than 8 wins at the moment. With these losses, the San Francisco Giants are 7-4. They are on a 2-game losing streak as they've lost 4 of their last 10 after winning their first game of the year. They hold the 3rd best record in the National League West as they are sitting a full game behind the Colorado Rockies and the Los Angeles Dodgers in their division. Taking a look at what happened in Miami, the Marlins would host the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals ended up beating the Marlins 5-1 after scoring all 5 of their runs in the first 5 innings of this game before the Marlins scored their lone run in the 6th. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Marlins were led out by their starting pitcher, Jesus Luzardo. Luzardo allowed 5 runs off of 7 hits in 4.1 innings pitched. He struck out 3 batters and walked 2, and with his loss, he's 0-1. In the Marlins batting lineup, their center fielder, Jesus Sanchez, went 2 for 4. Their third baseman, Joey Wendell, went 2 for 4. And then also their catcher, Jacob Stallings, would end up going 2 for 4 as well. On the winning end of this matchup, the St. Louis Cardinals were led out by their starting pitcher, Adam Wainwright. Adam Wainwright would allow 1 earned run off of 5 hits and 5.2 innings pitched. He would strike out 6 batters and walk 2 on the day, and with this win, he's 2-1. In the Cardinals batting lineup, their elite first baseman Paul Goldschmidt went 2 for 5 with a run. Their future Hall of Fame designated hitter Albert Pujols went 2 for 3 with 2 runs. And then their second baseman Tommy Edman went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. With this win, the St. Louis Cardinals are 6-3. That is the best record in the National League Central. They've won 6 of their last 10 games, obviously. And they are sitting half a game ahead of the second place Milwaukee Brewers within their division. With this loss, the Miami Marlins are 4-6. That is the fourth best record in the National League East, as they've lost 6 of their last 10, because of course they've only played 10 games all year. They are sitting 4 games behind the division-leading New York Mets at the moment. Looking at what's going on in Detroit, the Detroit Tigers hosted the New York Yankees. The Yankees ended up beating the Tigers 4-2. They would score 3 of their 4 runs in the first 2 innings, and then the Tigers scored both of their runs in the second inning, not getting a chance to have a lead for themselves. On the losing end of this matchup, the Detroit Tigers were let out in scoring by their starting pitcher, Tyler Alexander. In front of the home fans, Alexander would allow 2 runs off of 1 hit in only 1 inning pitched. He would strike out 2 batters and walk 2. With this loss, he is now 0-1 on the season. And in the Tigers batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit. That would be attributed to great pitching by the Yankees. The Yankees were led out by their elite starting pitcher, Garrett Cole. He allowed 2 earned runs off of 1 hit in 1.2 innings. He would strike out 3 batters and walk 5. The win would go to the Yankees' first relief pitcher, Clark Schmidt. He would go on to allow no earned runs off of 2 hits as he pitched 3.1 innings, as he would finish the second and go all the way through the 5th. He would strike out 6 batters in the span and walk 1. With his win, Schmidt is 1-2. The save would go to the Yankees' elite closer, Aroldis Chapman. Chapman would allow no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out a batter. This was his second save of the year. In the Yankees batting lineup, the only player with more than 1 hit was their shortstop, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. He went 2 for 3 with a run. With this win, the New York Yankees are 6-5. They are tied with the Boston Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays for the best record in the American League East. As of now, they have won 5 of their last 10 games after winning their first game of the year. They sit half a game ahead of the 4th place Tampa Bay Rays at the moment. With this loss, the Detroit Tigers are 4-6. That is the 4th best record in the American League Central, as they've lost their last 2 games. They sit 2.5 games behind the division-leading Chicago White Sox at the moment. Jumping out to Fenway, the Boston Red Sox hosted the Toronto Blue Jays. The Red Sox would tie the Blue Jays in record after beating them 2-1. They would end up breaking their 1-1 tie in the 7th inning off of a sac fly from Connor Wong. On the losing end of this matchup, the Toronto Blue Jays were led out by their starting pitcher, Yusei Kikuchi. He allowed 1 earned run off of 3 hits in the 5 innings he pitched. He would strike out 3 batters and walk 3. The loss for the Blue Jays would go to their setup relief pitcher, Yimi Garcia. Yimi Garcia would allow 1 run in the 7th inning, and with this loss, he's 0-1. In the Blue Jays batting lineup, their elite first baseman, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., went 2 for 3. Their designated hitter, Zach Collins, would end up going 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. And then their catcher, Alejandro Kirk, would end up going 2 for 4 on the day. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Boston Red Sox were led out by their starting pitcher, Nathan Eovaldi. He allowed 1 earned run off of 7 hits in 4.2 innings. He would strike out 6 batters and walk 1 before getting pulled in the 5th inning. The win for the Red Sox would be picked up by their second relief pitcher, Hansel Robles. He allowed no earned runs in 1.2 innings pitched. He, of course, would pitch the entirety of the 7th inning and then get pulled in the 8th. He would pick up 2 strikeouts in the span. With his win, he's 1-0. The save for the Red Sox would go to their closer, Garrett Whitlock. Whitlock would allow no earned runs in the 9th inning. This is his first save of the year. In the Red Sox batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit, as their elite second baseman, Trevor Story, would have the team's lone RBI. He went 1 for 3 with an RBI. Or I guess he and Connor Wong, but Wong went 0 for 2. But with this win, the Boston Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays are now 6-5. The Red Sox have won 6 of their last 10 after losing their first game of the year. The Blue Jays have lost 5 of their last 10 after they won their first game of the season. Both of these teams sit half a game ahead of the 4th place Tampa Bay Rays, as they sit alongside the New York Yankees, tied for the top spot in the division. Taking a look at what happened in Wrigley, the Chicago Cubs hosted the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays would end up beating the Cubs 6-5. Story of this matchup, it would just be a very close game for the majority of it, but the Cubs would get just really close to taking the lead, but they just wouldn't all game. The Rays would keep the Cubs at arm's length all game. On the losing end of this matchup, the Chicago Cubs were led out by their starting pitcher, Justin Steele. Justin Steele would pick up his first loss of the year in front of his home fans as he allowed 4 earned runs off of 3 hits and 2.2 innings pitched. He would strike out 1 batter and walk 3. With this loss, he's 0-1. In the Cubs batting lineup, nobody on the team finished with more than 1 hit, as their pinch hitting center fielder Patrick Wisdom went 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs and a run. He hit his second home run of the year. On the winning end of this matchup, the Tampa Bay Rays were led out by their starting pitcher Matt Wisler. Wisler would allow no earned runs and no hits as he would walk a batter and then get taken out in the second inning. The win would go to the Rays' first relief pitcher in this matchup, Josh Fleming. Fleming would allow 3 earned runs off of 4 hits and 3.1 innings pitched. He would finish off the second inning and go all the way through the 5th. He would strike out 2 batters in that span and walk 1, and with his win, he's 2-1. The save would go to the Rays' closer, Andrew Kittredge. Kittredge would allow no earned runs in the last 2 innings of the game as he struck out 2 batters. This was his second save of the year. In the Rays batting lineup, their elite shortstop, Wander Franco, would go 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run. He hit his first home run of the 2022 year. Their designated hitter, Brandon Lau, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI. And then Tampa Bay's second baseman, Taylor Walls, would end up going 2 for 3 with a run. With this win, the Tampa Bay Rays are 6-6. That is the 4th best record in the American League East. They sit half a game behind the 3-way tie at the top. That consists of the Boston Red Sox, the New York Yankees, and the Toronto Blue Jays, as the Rays have now won 4 of their last 10 after winning their first 2 games of the season. With this loss, the Chicago Cubs are now 6-5. That is the 3rd best record in the National League Central. They've lost 5 of their last 10 after winning their first game of the year. They sit a full game behind the division-leading St. Louis Cardinals as they just have 2 more losses than the Cardinals so far. Taking a look at what happened in Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Brewers would host the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Brewers would beat the Pirates 5-2 after scoring 4 of their 5 runs in the second inning, off of a 2-run home run from Rowdy Tellez and a 2-run double from Colton Wong. On the losing end of this matchup, the Pittsburgh Pirates were led out by their starting pitcher, JT Brubaker. He allowed 4 runs off of 2 hits in the 5 innings he pitched. He would strike out 6 batters and walk 2. With this loss, JT Brubaker is 0-2. And with what happened there, looking in their batting lineup, the only player for the Pirates who had more than 1 hit was their second baseman, Josh Van Meter. He would finish with going 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run as he hit his first home run of the year. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Milwaukee Brewers were led out by their all-star starting pitcher from last year, Corbin Burnes. He would allow 2 earned runs off of 4 hits in the 7 innings he pitched. He would strike out 10 batters, and he would walk none. With this win, Corbin Burnes is 1-0 on the season. The save would go to the Brewers' elite closer, Josh Hader. He allowed no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out a batter. This would be his 5th save of the year. In the Brewers' batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit. Their first baseman, Rowdy Tellez, would go 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his second home run of the season. And then their right fielder, Hunter Renfroe, went 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run. He hit his first home run of the year. With this win, the Milwaukee Brewers are now 7-5. That is the 2nd best record in the National League Central win percentage-wise, as they have the most wins in their division. They sit half a game behind the division-leading St. Louis Cardinals as they've won their last 3 games. They've won 7 of their last 10 after losing their first 2 games of the year. With this loss, the Pittsburgh Pirates are 5-6. That is the 4th best record in the National League Central. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 5 of their last 10 after they lost their first game of the year. They are currently sitting 2 whole games behind the division-leading St. Louis Cardinals. And, of course, taking a look at what happened at Houston, the defending American League champs, Houston Astros, would go on to host the LA Angels. The Angels would go on to beat the Astros 7-2. after they would score 5 runs in the fifth, but the score would be tied at 1. The tiebreaker run for the Angels would be scored off of an RBI single from Jo Adell. And then, of course, they would score 6 unanswered runs, which would put them out of reach, where the Astros wouldn't catch them. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Astros were led out by their starting pitcher, Framber Valdez. In front of the fans, Framber Valdez would allow 6 earned runs off of 8 hits and 4.1 innings pitched. He would strike out 3 batters and walk 4 on the day. And with this loss, Framber Valdez is 1-1. In the Astros batting lineup, the only player with more than 1 hit was their center fielder, Chas McCormick. McCormick went 2 for 4. On the winning end of this matchup, the Los Angeles Angels were led out by their starting pitcher, Patrick Sandoval. Sandoval allowed 1 run off of 4 hits in the 4 innings he pitched. He struck out 5 batters and walked 2. The win would go to the Angels' first relief pitcher in this matchup, Oliver Ortega. He allowed no earned runs in the 2 innings that he pitched as he walked a batter. He would pitch the 5th and 6th innings, and with this win, he is now 1-1. In the Angels' batting lineup, their right fielder, Taylor Ward, would end up going 2 for 5 with a run. Their elite third baseman, Anthony Rendon, would go 2 for 5 with a run as well. Their second baseman, Jack Mayfield, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. And then their left fielder, Jo Adell, went 3 for 5 with an RBI. With this win, the Los Angeles Angels have the best record in the American League West as they are tied with the Oakland A's. The Angels have won 7 of their last 10 after losing their first 2 games of the season. They sit half a game ahead of the Houston Astros and the Seattle Mariners, who are tied for 3rd place. With this loss, the Houston Astros are now 6-5. That is the 3rd best record in the American League West as they are tied with the Seattle Mariners. The Astros have lost 5 of their last 10 games after winning their first game of the season. They sit half a game behind the 2-way tie between the LA Angels and the Oakland Athletics at the top of the American League West. Jumping out to Kansas City, the Kansas City Royals hosted the Minnesota Twins from within the AL Central. The Royals would end up beating the Twins 4-3. They would go on to take the lead in the 6th inning as the Twins were up 3-1 at one point. The Royals would walk with the bases loaded to put themselves down by 2. In the bottom of the 6th, it would be a solo home run from Salvador Perez to tie the game at 3, and then a Hunter Dozier home run would end up giving the Royals the win. On the losing end of this matchup, the Minnesota Twins were led out by their starting pitcher, Chris Archer. Chris Archer would go on to allow 2 earned runs off of 4 hits. He would pitch 4.1 innings as he struck out 5 and walked 3. The loss would go to the Twins' setup relief pitcher, Tyler Duffy. Tyler Duffy would allow 2 earned runs off of 3 hits as he would pitch the entire 6th inning. This would be a second blown save of the year, as with this loss, he's 0-2. In the Twins batting lineup, their first baseman in this game, Luis Arraez, would go 2 for 4 with a run. Also, their designated hitter, Gary Sanchez, went 2 for 4 with an RBI. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Kansas City Royals were led out by their starting pitcher, Carlos Hernandez. Hernandez would allow 3 earned runs off of 8 hits and 4.1 innings as he walked a batter. The win for the Royals would go to their first relief pitcher, Amir Garrett. Garrett would allow no earned runs and 1.2 innings pitched as he finished off the 5th and pitched the entire 6th inning. He would go on to strike out 2 batters and walk 1. With this win, he's now 1-0 in the 2022 season. The save would go to the Royals closer, Josh Staumont. Staumont would allow no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out a batter and walked 1. This would be his 2nd save of the year. In the Royals batting lineup, their second baseman, Nicky Lopez, went 2 for 3 with an RBI. Their elite designated hitter, Salvador Perez, went 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. He hit his 3rd and 4th home runs of the year. Their left fielder, Andrew Benintendi, would go 2 for 4 as well. With this win, the Kansas City Royals are now 4-5. That is the 2nd best record in the American League Central as they are tied with the Cleveland Guardians. The Royals have now won their last 2 games. They sit 2 games behind the division-leading Chicago White Sox. With this loss, the Minnesota Twins are now 4-7. They are one of 4 teams in the Central that have 4 wins so far. They have the most losses out of all of them. They've lost 6 of their last 10 games after losing their first game of the year. And they trailed the division-leading Chicago White Sox by 3 games at the moment. And as of right now, the 2 teams that have a worse record than them in the American League are the Baltimore Orioles in the East and the Texas Rangers in the West. Taking a look at what happened in Colorado, in Denver, the Colorado Rockies would host the Philadelphia Phillies. The Rockies would end up beating the Phillies 6-5 after a couple of 3-run innings. On the losing end of this matchup, the Philadelphia Phillies were led out by their starting pitcher, Kyle Gibson. Kyle Gibson would go on to allow 3 earned runs off of 6 hits in the 6 innings he pitched, as he struck out 3 and walked 2. I believe Gibson is a former Ranger, but either way, the loss would go to the Phillies' first relief pitcher, Seranthony Dominguez. He would allow 2 earned runs off of 1 hit in .2 innings pitched. He would strike out a batter and walk 1, as he would end up getting pulled in that 7th inning that he was not able to finish. With this loss, he would be 1-1 on the year. In the Phillies batting lineup, their catcher, JT Realmuto, went 3 for 4 with 2 runs. Their left fielder, Kyle Schwarber, went 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a run, as he hit his 3rd home run of the year. Their pinch-hitting shortstop, Johan Camargo, went 2 for 3. And then their center fielder, Matt Vierling, would end up going 2 for 3 with an RBI. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Colorado Rockies were led out by their starting pitcher, Kyle Freeland. He allowed 2 earned runs off of 6 hits in the 5 innings he pitched. He would strike out 3 batters and walk 1. The win would end up going to the Rockies' second relief pitcher, Justin Lawrence. He allowed no earned runs in the 7th inning, as he struck out a batter and walked 1. With this win, he's 1-0. The save would go to the Rockies' closer, Daniel Bard. Bard would allow no earned runs in the 9th inning, as he struck out a batter. He picked up his 5th save of the year. In the Rockies batting lineup, their elite left fielder, Chris Bryant, would go 2 for 4 with 2 runs. And then their first baseman, C.J. Cron, would end up going 1 for 2 with 4 RBIs and a run, as C.J. Cron would hit a 3-run home run in the bottom of the 7th. So he would go on to hit his 4th home run of the year. But with this win, the Colorado Rockies are now 8-3. They are tied with the Los Angeles Dodgers for the best record in the National League West. The only team with a better record than the Rockies in the National League right now is the New York Mets. The Rockies have won 8 of their last 10 games. They've won their last 2 they lost their first game this season. Sitting alongside the Dodgers, they sit 1 game ahead of the San Francisco Giants in 3rd place and the 4th place San Diego Padres from within that division. With this loss, the Philadelphia Phillies are 4-8. That is the worst record in the National League East, as they have now lost their last 3 games. They've lost 8 of their last 10 after winning their first 2 games of the year. They are currently trailing the division-leading New York Mets by 5 whole games. Right now, only the Cincinnati Reds and Arizona Diamondbacks have worse records than the Phillies right now. And then taking a look at what's happening in Oakland, the Athletics would host the Baltimore Orioles. The A's would end up beating the Athletics 2-1. The Orioles scored the first run of the game in the 1st inning off of a ground out from Trey Mancini. And the A's lone scoring play in the bottom of the 6th would be a 2-run double from Seth Brown to give them the lead and eventually the win. On the losing end of this matchup, the Baltimore Orioles were led out by their starting pitcher, Chris Ellis. Chris Ellis allowed no earned runs off of 4 hits in 4.1 innings. He struck out 2 batters and walked 3. The loss would end up going to the Orioles' first relief pitcher, Mike Baumann. Baumann would allow 2 earned runs off of 2 hits, as he would finish off the 5th inning and pitch the entire 6th. He would strike out 2 batters and walk 1. With this loss, Baumann is 1-1. In the Orioles batting lineup, their left fielder, Anthony Santander, went 2 for 4 with a run. Their designated hitter, Trey Mancini, went 2 for 4 with an RBI as well. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Oakland Athletics were led out by their starting pitcher, Cole Irvin. Irvin allowed 1 earned run off of 6 hits in the 5 innings he pitched. He would strike out 4 batters and walk 2. The win would go to the A's first relief pitcher, Zach Logue. Logue would allow no earned runs off of 1 hit in 1.1 innings. He would pitch the entire 6th before getting pulled in the 7th. With this win, he's 1-0. He would strike out a batter and a walk in this span. The save would end up going to the Athletics closer for the day, Zach Jackson. He allowed no earned runs, as he would get the last put out of the game, as it would be a strikeout. This would be his first save of the year. In the A's batting lineup, their first baseman, Christian Bethancourt, would go 2 for 3 with a run. Their shortstop, Elvis Andrus, would go 2 for 2 with 2 walks, as he had a run. And then their left fielder, Seth Brown, went 2 for 4 with both of the team's RBIs. With this win, the Oakland Athletics are 7-5. They are tied with the Los Angeles Angels for the best record in the AL West. They've won their last 2 games, and they've won 7 of their last 10 after they lost their first 2 games, just like the Angels. They are sitting half a game ahead of the 2-way tie between the Houston Astros and the Seattle Mariners for the third best record in the division. And then, of course, taking a look at where the Orioles are with this loss, they are now 3-8. That is the worst record in the American League East, as they've lost their last 2 games. They've lost 7 of their last 10 after they lost their first game of the year. And they are currently sitting 3 full games behind the 3-way tie at the top of the division between the Red Sox, the New York Yankees, and the Toronto Blue Jays. As of now, only the Texas Rangers only have a worse record than the Baltimore Orioles in the American League. Taking a look at what happened in San Diego, the San Diego Padres would go on to host the Cincinnati Reds. The Padres would end up beating the Reds 6-2 after the Reds scored the first run of the game in the top of the first. The Padres would score 3 in the top of the first, and the Reds wouldn't be able to match them in runs after that. Also, the Reds would be the very first team to pick up a double-digit amount of wins this year. On the losing end of this matchup, the Cincinnati Reds were led out by their starting pitcher, Reiver Sanmartin. He would allow 5 earned runs off of 8 hits in 5.1 innings pitched. He would strike out 4 batters and walk 1. With this loss, he's 0-2. In the Reds batting lineup, their shortstop, Kyle Farmer, went 2 for 4 with an RBI. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown San Diego Padres were led out by their starting pitcher, Joe Musgrove. Musgrove would allow 2 earned runs off of 4 hits in the 6.1 innings he pitched. He struck out 7 batters and walked 1. With this win, he's now 2-0. And in the Padres batting lineup, their elite third baseman Manny Machado went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run. He would go on to hit his 3rd home run of the season. Their first baseman Eric Hosmer went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run as well. With this win, the San Diego Padres are 8-5. That is the 4th best record in the National League West, as they've won their last 3 games and they've won 6 of their last 10. They are currently sitting 1 full game behind the Rockies and the Dodgers at the moment, and they are currently sporting the longest active winning streak in the National League alongside the Brewers and the Mets with this 3-game winning streak, and they're also the longest winning streaks in the majors right now. Right now, like I said, they're sitting a game behind the Rockies and the Padres. With this loss, the Cincinnati Reds are 2-10. They're the first team to have 10 losses in the 2022 season. They've now lost their last 8 games. That is the longest active losing streak in the MLB by a bit. The second longest active losing streak is, of course, held by the Rangers, as they have a 4-game losing streak. But with this loss, the Reds have lost 9 of their last 10 games. They are sitting 5.5 games behind the division-leading St. Louis Cardinals at the moment, who have yet to even play 10 games, as the Reds have already lost 10 games. Taking a look at what happened in Seattle, the Mariners would host the Texas Rangers, and the Mariners beat the Rangers 6-2 after scoring 4 of their 6 runs in the first couple of innings, as the Rangers just would not be able to match it in their first 3 runs coming off of a Eugenio Suarez home run. On the losing end of this matchup, the Texas Rangers were led out by their starting pitcher, Jon Gray. Jon Gray would allow 4 earned runs off of 3 hits in the 5 innings he pitched. He struck out 4 batters and walked 1. With this loss, Jon Gray is 0-1 on the 2022 season. And in the Rangers batting lineup, nobody on their team would finish with more than 1 hit, as their elite second baseman Marcus Semien would go 1 for 3 with both of the team's RBIs. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Seattle Mariners were led out by their elite starting pitcher and reigning American League Cy Young winner Robbie Ray. He would allow 2 earned runs off of 4 hits in 6 innings, as he struck out 4 and walked 1. With this win, the former Blue Jays ace is 2-1, and in the Mariners batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit. Their elite third baseman Eugenio Suarez would go 1 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a run on the day. With this win, the Seattle Mariners are now 6-5. They are tied with the Houston Astros for the 3rd best record in the American League West, as the Mariners have won their last 2 games and they've won 5 of their last 10 after winning their first game of the year. Overall, they sit half a game behind the division-leading LA Angels and Oakland A's, so they very well could see themselves at the top of the league, or the top of the division at a moment's notice. And with this loss, the Texas Rangers are now 2-8. They are now holding a 4-game losing streak, the longest active losing streak in the American League. They've lost 8 of their last 10 games, of course, because they've only played 10 games. They sit 4 games behind the division-leading Los Angeles Angels and Oakland Athletics at the moment. Last but not least, jumping out to Los Angeles, the LA Dodgers would host the defending World Series champs Atlanta Braves. The Braves would end up beating the Dodgers 3-1, scoring all 3 of their runs before the Dodgers scored their lone run in the bottom of the 8th. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown LA Dodgers were led out by their elite starting pitcher Walker Buehler. He allowed 3 earned runs off of 8 hits in the 8 innings he pitched, as he would strike out 2 and he would walk 1 on the day. With this loss, Walker Buehler is now 1-1 for the Dodgers, and in the Dodgers batting lineup, nobody on the team had more than 1 hit, as that would be attributed to great pitching from the Atlanta Braves. The Braves were led out by their starting pitcher Max Fried, as he allowed no earned runs off of 2 hits in the 7 innings he pitched. He would strike out 8 batters in that 7-inning stretch, and with this win, this would be the first win of Max Fried's 2022 campaign. He is now 1-2. The save would go to the Braves closer and former Dodger Kenley Jansen. Jansen would allow no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out a batter. This would be his 3rd save of the year. In the Braves batting lineup, their elite second baseman Ozzie Albies would go 2 for 5 with a run. Their third baseman Austin Riley went 2 for 4 with an RBI. Their catcher Travis d'Arnaud went 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. And then their left fielder Orlando Arcia went 3 for 4 with an RBI. With this win, the defending World Series champs Atlanta Braves are now 6-7. That is the second best record in the National League East, as they are tied with the Washington Nationals. They have won 4 of their last 10 games, as they sit 3.5 games behind the division leading New York Mets and the conference leading and the league leading New York Mets at this moment. And with this loss, the Los Angeles Dodgers are now 8-3. They are tied with the Colorado Rockies for the best record in the National League West, as their 7-game winning streak came to an end. The Dodgers have lost 3 of their last 10. Alongside the Rockies, they sit 1 game ahead of the San Francisco Giants in 3rd place, and they also sit a game ahead of the 4th place San Diego Padres in 4th. Overall, the New York Mets have a better record than them. The only team with a better record than them in the major leagues, is they only have 1 more win than the Dodgers so far. But that is what the MLB is looking like following these matchups. Taking a look at what is going on today, as there are doubleheaders and no prime. There's 1 doubleheader and no prime time. At 2:10, Shane Bieber, the elite starting pitcher for the Cleveland Guardians, is going to host Dallas Keuchel and the Chicago White Sox in Progressive Field. And immediately following this matchup, their doubleheader will be at 6:10, as Tristan McKenzie is going to start for Cleveland. Jimmy Lambert is going to start for Chicago. And the White Sox, just for reference, are currently sitting on top of the AL Central. Looking outside of the doubleheader, at 1:40, Brandon Woodruff and the Milwaukee Brewers are going to host Mitch Keller and the Pittsburgh Pirates. At 3:10, Tony Gonsolin and the Los Angeles Dodgers are going to host Charlie Morton and the defending World Series champs Atlanta Braves. At 3:10, German Marquez and the Colorado Rockies are going to host Zach Eflin and the Philadelphia Phillies. At 4:10, Mackenzie Gore and the San Diego Padres are going to host Vladimir Gutierrez and the Cincinnati Reds. At 6:07, Dalton Jeffries and the Oakland Athletics are going to host Jordan Lyles and the Baltimore Orioles. At 6:40, Jake Odorizzi and the defending American League champs Houston Astros are going to host Shohei Ohtani and the American League West leading Los Angeles Angels. Their elite starting pitcher is coming into this matchup with an 0-2 record, holding a 7.56 ERA. At the same time, at 6:40, Eduardo Rodriguez and the Detroit Tigers are going to host Luis Severino and the New York Yankees. At the same time, at 6:40, Sandy Alcantara and the Miami Marlins are going to host Miles Mikolas and the St. Louis Cardinals. At 7:05, Eric Fedde and the Washington Nationals are going to host Merrill Kelly and the Arizona Diamondbacks. At 7:10, Chris Bassett and the New York Mets are going to host Carlos Rodon and the San Francisco Giants. At the same time, at 7:10, Nick Pivetta and the Boston Red Sox are going to host Jose Barrios and the Toronto Blue Jays. And at 7:40, in Wrigley Field in Chicago, Marcus Stroman and the Chicago Cubs are going to host Drew Rasmussen and the Tampa Bay Rays. At 8:10 in Kauffman Stadium, Daniel Lynch and the Kansas City Royals are going to host Chris Paddock and the Minnesota Twins. And then last but not least, at 9:40, in T-Mobile Park. Logan Gilbert and the Seattle Mariners are going to host Dane Dunning and the Texas Rangers. So that's everything that's going on with baseball as it comes down to today. And then looking out to see what happened with soccer outside of the leagues themselves. And we saw a couple of semifinals in their respective leagues. In the Italian Coppa Italia, Inter Milan would end up beating AC Milan 3-0 after a 0-0 first leg. As Inter wins this, they will advance to the Coppa Italia finals. They would see a first half brace from their elite Argentine striker Lautaro Martinez, and then they would see their third goal come from their German fullback Robin Gosens in the 82nd minute, as AC Milan would see themselves get eliminated. And then taking a look at what happened in the German Pokal, the German semifinal, SC Freiburg would end up beating Hamburg 3-1, as all three of their goals came in the first half from Nils Petersen, Nicolas Höfler, and Vincenzo Grifo. Hamburg's lone goal came from Gritzel in the second half, as of course with this Freiburg will advance to the DFB final. Looking at what happened in the European leagues, the lone Premier League game yesterday was between Liverpool and Manchester United. Ronaldo, of course, couldn't play because he had to spend time with his family. Liverpool will go on to beat Manchester United, however, 4-0. Their first goal will come from their newest Colombian addition from the Portuguese league, Luis Diaz. Mo Salah will go on to score a brace. He scores first goal in the 22nd minute, and then in the 85th minute, after Sadio Mane scored his lone goal. So, of course, just all-around great game from Liverpool. 4 goals from their front three. With this win, Liverpool is now temporarily sitting on top of the Premier League table, as they have put pressure on Man City. They have 2 more points than Man City, as they've played 1 more game. This is the first time all year, I believe, that they've comfortably sat on top. I'm not sure, actually. They might have done it earlier, but if Man City wins their next game, they should be able to sit right back on top. But right now, Liverpool's on top. But with that said, looking at a team that's still active in Champions League, Villarreal was able to beat Valencia 2-0 in their La Liga matchup, as both their goals came in the first half from Arnaldo and Yuma. I'm looking at where they're sitting in La Liga. Villarreal is sitting 7th in the table, as they sit 3 points behind 6th place Real Sociedad, as they're still trying to qualify for Conference League. It looks as though at this point the only way they qualify for Champions League would be if they were to win Champions League, which is still possible, but at this point very tough. With that said, taking a look at what is going on today, because of course today is Wednesday, and without Champions League, we're going to see a good amount of league games being played. Looking outside of that, looking at the other Italian Coppa Italia semifinal matchup, Juventus is going to host Fiorentina after Juve picked up a 1-0 win in the first leg. Juve, holding the home leg, has a slight advantage here. The winner of this matchup will go to face off against Inter after Inter beat AC Milan 3-0 yesterday. In the German DFB Pokal semifinal, RB Leipzig is going to host Union Berlin, the East Berlin team, as the winner of that is going to, of course, face off against Freiburg in the DFB final. Taking a look at what's going on in the league games in Europe, starting off in the Premier League within England. The top team that is going to be playing today will be Manchester City, as Manchester City has a chance to jump right back on top of the Prem. They're going to be hosting Brighton and Hove Albion, who are currently holding the 10th best record in the league. Man City, like I said, they definitely need this win. A draw would mean that Liverpool would be right ahead of them. Sitting in third place, Chelsea is going to be hosting Arsenal, who's going to be coming from within London at 2:45. Chelsea sits 12 points behind second place Man City and 5 points ahead of fourth place Tottenham, to get a sense of where they are. Arsenal sits 5th in the table, as they sit 3 points behind fourth place Tottenham with 1 less game played. They can even themselves up with Tottenham, but Tottenham does have the goal differential advantage. But a win here would actually do a lot for Arsenal, so this is a win-now situation for both teams. More so for Arsenal than Chelsea, because 1 loss doesn't necessarily knock them out of third place. And then taking a look at what's going on within La Liga, the top team in Spain, Real Madrid, is going to Osasuna to play against the 9th best team in Spain. They sit 15 points clear of second place Barcelona. With a win here, they should be able to... With a win here, I believe they should win La Liga if the math suits out correctly. But of course, don't take my word for it. If they don't win it here, they're more than likely going to win it next week. But of course, in addition to what's going on there, Atletico Madrid is going to be hosting Granada at 1. Atletico Madrid is sitting in that 4th spot in Spain as they sit even with Barcelona and Sevilla with one less game played than Barca. A win here would temporarily put them in 2nd place and would do a lot for them considering 5th place is 3 points right behind them. I'm taking a look at what is going on in the French Ligue 1. The team that's going to be at the top, PSG, is going to be facing off against Angers at 3 o'clock. PSG is currently sitting 15 points ahead of 2nd place Marseille. With a win today, PSG should be able to win Ligue 1. As they were not able to win it last year, as the team that was able to take it was Lyonnais. But looking first at the 2nd best team in France, Marseille is going to be hosting Nantes at 3 o'clock. They're going to be hosting the 10th best team as they sit 15 points behind PSG. If they win this game, I don't think... And if PSG wins their next game, regardless, I think PSG should run away with the table. But Marseille sits 3rd place instead of Stade Rennes. If they want to clinch a Champions League spot, this is a must-win situation for them. And looking at the reigning Ligue 1 champs, Lille is going to be facing against Stade de Reims. As Lyonnais or Olympic Lyonnais is or LOSC Lille, the reigning Ligue 1 champs, are coming into this matchup with the 9th best record in France. They sit 1 point behind 8th place Lyon. A win here could temporarily see them move into 7th, but right now they need to win these matchups if they definitely want to see themselves competing outside of France next year. And then that's pretty much all that I have for you in terms of what's going on. But I want to, of course, thank the NBA, the MLB, and the FIFA websites for giving me all the facts and figures that I needed. Of course, I would not be able to do this episode without them. And I do apologize for the names that I butchered along the way. But I do want to thank everyone for listening. Thanks for listening to all 57 minutes. And once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I'm going to come back tomorrow on Thursday, April 21st. And until then, I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope all is well. And I will catch you with a lot more tomorrow. So until then, thanks for listening. I hope all is well. And peace out. Thanks for listening to my piece. This is The Elite. And I'm James Sims. Happy 420.